You're watching news at Prime. Let's get into this discussion now. Policy analyst and SACP member Dr. Reneva Fourie says recent trips to the United States by the Democratic Alliance as well as lobby group AfriForum and its union Solidarity are aimed at strengthening right-wing elements pushing for regime change in South Africa. She claims that the ANC's shortcomings, which resulted in the government of national unity, has reversed some democratic gains. Fourie joins me now in her capacity as a governance, development and security analyst. Dr. Fourie, good evening to you.
Good evening,
thank you very much for your time. So you link the trips to the United States, both by the Democratic Alliance and AfriForum, including Solidarity, to this caption of your piece that says the ANC's blunders are sowing seeds for regime change. Make us understand the logic.
Okay, the centre is not holding. And because the centre is not holding, entities like AfriForum and Solidarity and even the DA is exploiting the fact that the centre is not holding and leaving the country and going abroad and misrepresenting the policy developments within this country. Now, the reason why I say it's linked to regime change is if you look at the content of what they had advocated, not just the misrepresentation around the Bella Act, around the Expropriation Act, around crime in the country, they had actually asked the US for direct interference in the sovereignty of our country. They asked the US for direct interference in terms of our domestic policy, and they've also asked them for direct interference in terms of our foreign policy. Why that argument is having some resonance among the South African populace, one would have thought that absolutely everyone would be unhappy about that kind of conduct. But it's having resonance with some of our population because of some of the errors that the ANC has made within the governance process. Number one is that there's been extensive corruption, and there's a perception on the ground that corruption hasn't been adequately dealt with. Even though we had said that the boards have been changed, some money has been reclaimed, but high-profile people have not been arrested. So citizens are feeling that if high-profile people can get away with committing crime, then crime is justified, then other people can get away with it as well. Likewise, there's been service delivery failures. Of course, it's not the ANC alone, because there are other municipalities that are governed by other political parties, but the service delivery failures are so glaring that people are becoming disillusioned and they are looking for any other alternative. Then lastly, crime is rampant, as I had indicated, and there doesn't appear to be any concerted effort to manage the syndicates in the country. As a consequence, and the last thing is that a large percentage of our population, surprisingly, don't know what life under apartheid was like.
You're talking about the 60% youth majority in this country. Okay.
And so when they hear stories of life under apartheid was better, they become vulnerable to believing those stories because we haven't done enough to educate our youth about the brutality that was associated with apartheid. Likewise, not only our youth, but even many white South Africans, because of the Group Areas Act, because we were so isolated, because of the heavy repression, the censorship on the media, there are quite a number of white South Africans that really don't know how bad apartheid was. And so when they hear Solidarity expressing this misrepresentation of who we are and our capabilities, they believe it. And they're now seeing Trump as their savior.
So make me understand then why the voice of not only the South African government, but people like yourselves is missing in order to educate. Because I think that's your biggest worry, that 60% majority of this country are young people
Yes.
whom, as you say, have no clear links to apartheid or felt what that was like. And so these narratives are likely to confuse them.
Yes.
Why is that voice missing?
You know, it kind of also ties to why people are so disappointed in what AfriForum is doing. Because during the negotiations process, we were so committed to national reconciliation, we were so committed to social cohesion that even though we had the TRC process and it was supposed to have some degree of, facilitate some degree of healing, we suppressed a lot of the truth. So there are movies about what happened in South Africa, but the brutality that was associated with that, we don't really expose because we wanted to build a better nation. We wanted to build a society where everybody felt included. And so we made a lot of compromises during the negotiation process. And that is why people are feeling disappointed that AfriForum and Solidarity, given the amount of compromises that we made, given our willingness to forget the past and move forward and build the country together, they are now taking us back to the period of apartheid.
Solidarity and AfriForum, the president spoke, and I think what he said recently in Parliament during a question and answer session was the clearest condemnation he has made thus far about their actions. And let's be clear, these are non-state actors, as he put it. But the Democratic Alliance is a state actor. They are a political party. They are an elected party in Parliament. But you are branding them in your piece as representing a clear threat to South Africa's sovereignty. You've got to be explicit about that explanation because these are significant partners of the ANC in the government of national unity.
Likewise, that is why the conduct of the Democratic Alliance is equally disappointing. You know, they come across as being so desperate for power that they don't mind compromising the sovereignty of our country and the economic stability of our country to get that power. Now, the history of the relationship between the Democratic Alliance and the USA has been a long one. They've always tried to position themselves as the future alternative to the ANC because of the neoliberal policies, which is more aligned to the West. And if we look at the even more recent conduct, or the past 3 or 4 years, we saw the Democratic Party undermining our neutrality on the position of Ukraine and Russia, and going to the US and cozying up and going to visit Ukraine and positioning themselves as having the moral superiority. Despite us saying, look, let's not take sides. The best way, based on our experience, is to have a negotiated settlement. War doesn't benefit anyone. They lied about the Russian ship that docked in the Western Cape, knowing full well that they control the Western Cape, of course, and saying that South Africa is selling weapons to Russia. They just deliberately distorted that kind of that relationship so that South Africa can be perceived in a bad light. Yes, even until recently, just before the elections, they weren't supportive on the Palestinian question. So they've really been mollycoddling up to the USA. And now, in their recent visit, they not only claimed to, I'm like, it's actually embarrassing if you think of it, because they say that they went to provide clarity on the Expropriation Act, but then in the same breath they say that they just wanted to highlight the potential future dangers of the Act, not at all caring what the implications of their visit is going to be.
Yeah. I take your point about the Democratic Alliance almost, if I were to use the term, they were two-faced in that trip to the United States. And their reporting of what they went there to say. But let's come back and focus the discussion on the ANC.
Okay.
There's big disenchantment right now, and I guess I'm asking you to wear your SACP hat right now. Big unhappiness about the VAT increase. The finance minister today making one admission that perhaps could possibly even end his political career. I'd like for you to listen for yourself what he had to say today, and you'll tell me, as an alliance partner of the ANC, what you make of his statement. Let's take a listen to the Minister of Finance.
What is at issue now for Duncan and his team? The 2% is not their invention, it's mine. I plead guilty. I plead guilty. I woke up one day and said, no. Everybody has been attacking me about austerity. I said, I'm sick and tired of being attacked for austerity. This time I'm going to raise tax. Then I called Duncan and the team. I said, put 2% VAT. Are you sure, Minister? I said, yes. And then on the weekend, Duncan phoned me and said, Minister, are you sure? Are you not going to change? Because if you change, we'll have to change the budget date. I said, I'm not changing. I'm forging ahead.
The SACP made it clear in the first postponement that you are opposed to a VAT increase. Here it is, and there is the admission from that initial one of a 2 percentage point increase. What do you make of that statement?
Yes, as indicated earlier, that even though it's the official SACP position, I can't speak on behalf of the SACP. And I'm glad I can't speak on behalf of the SACP because I'm extremely disappointed that he had deliberately imposed a 2% VAT on the country, even when it wasn't necessary. It created so much tension. It resulted in the budget vote being postponed. It created instability in our country in the sense that it created policy uncertainty. It created a loss of investor confidence, and that is a very egocentric thing to be doing, you know. From a policy perspective, of course, we know that the impact of that, especially the 2%, would have had severe implications for South Africa's poor, but not only for the poor, even for the middle class. We're really struggling. The cost of living is very high. And to irresponsibly say that we are just going to increase the tax rate because we are tired of the complaints of austerity, it's not the kind of maturity that you are expecting from a politician, not a senior politician at the level of the Minister of Finance, most definitely not. Yes, even the 0.5%, it is a pity that route had to that they had to go that route, but we recognize that they've expanded the basket of zero-rated products, but there were other methods that they could have explored, which is one of the issues that was raised by the SACP, like a wealth tax, like corporate tax. I heard him explaining why he felt that corporate tax is not necessarily the best route to go because of the high cost of electricity. But even there, if you look at the budget, still they are continuing with the aspect of privatization, even though they say the tariffs are very high. By unbundling Eskom, by bringing in the private sector into the IPPs, independent power producers, by bringing in the private sector into transmission, what are they expecting? The cost of electricity is going to go even higher. So there are many contradictions in the budget, and it's really unfortunate that the minister hadn't thought these things through before going on national television. and making such an irresponsible statement.
Let's end the conversation on this point. You say it was such an egocentric thing to do for him to propose that 2 percentage point VAT increase. Do you think that it ties in with what you are saying, that this is part of these blunders by the ANC that are going to affect regime change in South
How do you
Africa?
expect our people to take us seriously? How do you expect us to command credibility if we speak and behave in a manner that doesn't confirm that we are putting the interests of the people of South Africa first? It is definitely blunders like that that erodes the credibility of the ANC, and that makes the liberation movement as a whole vulnerable to regime change. Our people are not going to trust us if this is the kind of leaders that we have.
Dr. Reneva Fourie, I want to thank you very much for your time tonight. And she is a governance, development and security analyst, and also important to mention that she is a member of the South African Communist Party.